I said, bring on the vacations, bring on the stress, because that's where you're going to learn how to implement. It's a accumulation of the small wins that you take the time to acknowledge. And does it really matter what the scale says? That's one tool in which we can measure success. So I hope that we are ushering in a new era of coaching in the health space, you know, the kind, sensitive, empathic, understanding coach that relies on science.
All right, a little interruption before we get into today's episode. So I run these shows ad-free. We will never take on sponsors because everything is self-funded through our Fit Vegan coaching program. So if you enjoy these shows, the best way to support is obviously to subscribe to the channel. But also, if you know anyone over the age of 50 that is looking to improve their body composition, combat sarcopenia, combat osteoporosis, get healthier on a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, to simply send them our way at fitvegancoaching.com, because we are the best in the world in helping people over 50 transform. We have over 1,000 transformation in 20 different countries. So simply send them our way. In addition to that, a percentage of our profit monthly goes towards supporting cancer patients with their treatments and bills and whatever they may need to support themselves and their family. So you're also supporting additional people outside of the work that we'd be doing in the program. That is all I have for you today. So enjoy the episode. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan podcast. Today, we have a new style of episode. I'm going to be interviewing Coach Sarah. Many of you have been requesting these types of episodes, and so I'm going to do these once a month. Once a month, I'm going to interview each of our Fit Vegan coaches, and we're going to talk about, coaching styles, what people are currently struggling with the time of the year and how we navigate those. And so, Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is our third podcast.
Isn't that crazy? And you've been working with me for almost 5 years. Yeah.
Our anniversary is coming up.
I know. And it's only our third podcast episode together. So we're going to do more. And also for the people listening, something new we're going to be trying. Because by the time this goes out, we'll pretty much be at the point of releasing the other structure, which we're going to start posting 2 Fit Vegan podcast episodes every single week. And on each week of the month, to make up that second, it's going to be one of our Fit Vegan coaches interviewing one of their clients. So kind of like the Fit Vegan success story, but the coaches will get to interview the client that they coach versus me. I'll still do a little bit of them here and there, but I think it's going to be fun to have you guys interview them.
We have some pretty great conversations, I have to say.
Yeah. And then so many of them are not recorded. And I was like, oh my God, like people would benefit so much from that. You know, when you're coaching people and you say cool things and you're like, damn, I wish that was recorded.
Yep. Or you can see it land on the client and they're like, oh, wow. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it one of those things where you just kind of repeat yourself, but in a slightly different way, and eventually it just kind of clicks and you can see it in their face. You're like, oh shit, that's gonna change their trajectory.
Yeah. Or I was actually just talking to somebody earlier this afternoon, and she said, you've reframed something for me a couple calls back. And I'm like, what did I say?
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, we're what? This is going to come out, I think, it's going to come out in end of May, I believe, or end of April. And so we're kind of at that time where summer's around the corner. I think New Year's resolution has kind of died down a little bit. The people that would have given up already have given up at this point, I mean, in the world. So, what are some of the cool wins that you've seen in some of your clients since the beginning of the year? And then we can dive into like challenges and how you've helped people navigate those.
Well, I've just had several calls today, so that's top of mind right now. But one thing is that people's mindsets are shifting for the better, in my opinion, from quick fixes to long-term sustainability and giving themselves time and space to learn and implement what they're doing in the program. And they are becoming more and more patient with themselves, which is really, really great, both from a coaching perspective and from the member's perspective.
Yeah, because I think people notice at this point, work with people between 50 and 86. So even if you're 50, 60, 70, or 80, you're still as impatient as when you're coaching a 20, 30, 40-year-old.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we've been making a big push for that more, I think, since the beginning of the year, because so many people were like, New Year's resolution, I'm going to drop 20 pounds in a month. And then it's like, well, you could if you starve yourself and over exercise, but how long before you put all the weight back on after?
Yeah, and how long do you want to continue chasing the quick fix only to fail and resort back to old habits that aren't serving you?
Yeah. Isn't that funny how people revert back to that after?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, it's like,
default.
yeah, and I guess that's what we're trying to do with a lot of people is change what the default setting is,
Yeah,
so that again, I'm not gonna pretend like some people don't put the weight back on after because life happens. We've had clients that, cancer, pregnancy, like things
yeah,
happen
yeah,
in life, and then the weight comes back on. It's things that are, a lot of things that are out of their control, but it's like, can they revert back to this new default that we taught them that helped them feel so good in the first place?
yeah. And can we shorten the times between those situations or instances and reduce the amount of not so good thoughts in their head and a little bit more love and grace and understanding to self? Because we're our worst and hardest critic, and it's not effective.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what we talk a lot about on group calls and one-on-one calls with people. Is just like, don't beat yourself up,
Yeah.
be patient, do the best that you can.
Yep.
But regardless of the age, it's still like a common theme across the board.
Yeah, it is, and it's my mission to help people be the voice to tip the scale in the other direction. I was just the same person I was just referring to. She said, I love your weekly check-in videos. She says, I beat myself up so much. You are my voice of positivity and reassurance. And I'm like, oh, that means so much to me to hear that as a coach, that, my words of, hey, but did you think about this? Or, have you celebrated this? Because sometimes we don't celebrate the small wins along the way, and we're looking for this great big thing, and it's not. Rarely does that happen. It's a accumulation of the small wins that you take the time to acknowledge and celebrate that compound.
Yeah, it makes me think of hiking. People think that they're just going to open their eyes and be on top of the mountain
Yeah.
versus enjoying kind of the false peaks where you get to oversee the valley or oversee the river or the ocean. It's like, oh, this was a cool spot. Then let's move on to the next one and the next one. But
Yeah.
it never, especially you live in Vancouver Island. It's like a
Yeah.
lot of beautiful hikes and beautiful scenery.
Yeah. Yeah.
My one of my personal coaches told me this week, he said, it seems like you're just looking for ways to feel like, because I was just focusing on the negative side of, because I was going through some stuff, and I was like, I guess that's kind of what I'm doing. And I was like, that's what we do for the clients, is let's focus on the small wins, because if not, it's so easy to be like, well, this is not working. And then you start to see all the other things that are not working in your life, which, by the way, have probably been there for a long time and never really affected you unless you're in that state.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you help people kind of get out of that state where they're like, well, it's not dropping as fast as I want to? Because I have people jump on the group calls like, oh, I didn't lose as much weight as I want to. I go and I pull up their profile. I'm like, you're down like 8 pounds in the past like 6 weeks. I'm like, what do you mean? You thought like 20 pounds would come off in the first month? We're pretty upfront.
Yeah.
So how do you help people like navigate and reframe?
I think my first strategy is to bring humor into it, because at the end of the day, and I kind of, morbid or not, but I always say, do you think this is going to be really impactful on your deathbed? Like, let's put this into perspective. And then I spend a lot of time when I first meet somebody on the onboarding call to get to know them and their history. And that's to gather facts so that I can best utilize their their previous dieting experiences to show them how not to do things and how, yes, this might be not going as expected or as quickly, but previous attempts have failed and don't work. So I always say, well, you've been trying to lose weight for X amount of years doing
decades for some people.
Decades. It can range from 5 years to 30 years. And I always say, like, how is that, with all due respect, how has that helped? How is that, have you been successful doing it this way? More often than not, the answer is no, it has not. I said, so just trust the process. We're doing this slow and sustainably. And you are seeing, and I just point out all the things that we've talked about and celebrating the wins and showing them in a bigger picture. Well, you've done this and you've improved that and you've increased your weight here. And a lot of times people gloss over the small stuff. And it's when you highlight and point out, well, you're actually, like you just told me on your last call that your pants are fitting different, and they're like, oh yeah. I'm like, and does it really matter what the scale says? That's one tool in which we can measure success. So, can we look at other things to also measure success? Well, keeping an eye on the weight and the scale, absolutely. But there's other ways to measure success.
Yeah. And to be fair, body fat is a more, I think, valuable metric than weight on the scale would be.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because the scale is going to fluctuate every day. Even with the challenge that we have going on for April right now, like people are drinking a lot of water, which they should. But yeah, it's going to cause some fluctuations on the scale. And people are like, well, I can't deal with it. And I was like, well, then don't weigh yourself right now.
Yeah, I've had
Take
to
a
put
little break from it.
For a lot of people, like, this is not a healthy behavior. So we need to examine this relationship you have with this number.
Yeah. And I think when people start a coaching program, they think it's about a lot of like kind of adding things to it. And what we do is refining some of the actions. Potentially they're working out, but they're working out inefficiently. Potentially they're eating, but the proportions aren't right. But a lot of times it's about like removing some of the frameworks and principles that they have in their head. That's the thing that's actually leaving them stuck.
Most people are there, 80%.
Yeah.
They're almost there, and it's just tweaking. And I think they don't give themselves credit for that 80% that they have gotten right.
Yeah, they think they're lazy or being undisciplined. I'm like, you work way harder than majority of people. You work way harder than you have to get the thing that you want.
Yeah. So it's just a refinement of what they're doing and just tweaking and being consistent. I think the consistency factor is really huge.
Yeah. But it's crazy how many people have put so much effort into this. And I just had like a little analogy of like baking, like they're kind of baking without a recipe. They're like, you need flour and you need these, and then the cake is just mush at the end. They're like, that's not what I thought would happen after putting all of these ingredients together.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't have the right proportions, like you're guessing if something's going to work or not.
Yeah.
What is another thing that you've seen people struggle with in the past few months? Because I'll be fair, I'm blessed. I'm in LA. It's sunny pretty much all the time, but it was pretty darn gray in BC for a while for the past few months. I think it's starting to be sunny for you guys a little bit.
This last week has been beautiful. Yeah, so dealing with weather and so weather and stress of our current world
economy. Yeah.
Economy.
I just looked at my investments and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. So the managing stress, be it environmental or political or economics or whatever, navigating that, but not doing it in a way that you abandon everything that you've just learned, but to tweak and to manage expectations. So I had, again, a call. Sorry, guys, that I've talked to today. You're going to be examples. I talked to a lady who super busy and really high stress job, and she says, but I'm maintaining, I'm plateauing. I'm like, you're surviving.
Yeah.
And you
We're
haven't,
not going to use names, but I think I know who you're talking about.
yeah, you are surviving, you are maintaining. This is fantastic. I said, you're still making time to do your workouts. You're still managing to get your steps in. You're still managing to do your meal prep, even though it's not exactly 100% perfect. I'm like, in the past, what have you done? I've, sat on the couch and watched endless amounts of TV. I've overeaten. I've eaten my feelings. I've binged eat. I'm like, and how, so this way's better? Yes. So this is
Yeah.
good. This is like learning through experience. So I don't know if I'm going on topic, but when people come into the program, they expect to do everything perfectly, and they know, disruptions or vacations or holidays or anything, they're just going to do this perfect. And I'm like, how are you going to learn?
Yeah.
I said, bring on the vacations, bring on the stress, bring on, disruptions, because that's where you're going to learn how to implement and how to do things better and how things work best for you. So, yeah.
Yeah. People almost treat it like they were going to go to prison, where there would be no other like distraction. All they have to do all day is like work out and eat and do
Yep.
nothing else. But yeah, people think it's just like this straight line. We'll make the line go down because they're trying to lose weight.
Yep.
But it's a straight line down, but in reality, it's just this massive squiggly line going a bunch of different directions.
Yeah.
But the overall theme of it is heading downwards, which is what we want.
Yep.
But it's not going to be a straight line. And yeah, you don't learn anything if there's no vacation, if there's no emergency, if there's no stressful day, like you don't learn how to navigate those. So it's not really helpful. And I think you're the perfect person to talk about that with, because you started working with me pretty much since the start of Fit Vegan.
Yeah.
You remember during COVID when we had a bunch of clients, like I think that was probably, looking back now, I feel bad for the initial clients that we had, because they had a perfect environment to transform. They couldn't leave their house. There was no social event. They couldn't travel. So it was perfect to work out and stay on track to their nutrition.
Yeah.
But then when the world opened up, they hadn't learned the lessons of like, how do I make the right decision at the restaurant? How do I travel and stay on track with my workout? It's like, yeah, I was looking back, I was like, damn, like I wish they had more hardship as they were going through it so they could have learned more.
Yeah. And the people who were joining the program, and then while they were in the program, the world was opening up. Oh my goodness. I don't know about you, but I had several conversations about going to eat at a restaurant, traveling, or also dealing with sickness too, right? So we've had many members who've contracted COVID and had, to modify and step back from workouts and slowly begin back to it once they're healthy again. And it's those situations that we can fall back and rely on as a way of doing it that works, that's sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that was like the era of like Matt and Darcy and Stacy and Neha. That was like, that group. If you guys are listening, shout out to you guys. I know some
guys,
of them
I miss you all.
listen to their podcast. But the thing is, once you go through one of those moments, like a social event or a stressful day, and you potentially don't handle it as well as you wanted to, because it's your first time, right? There's like a bit of a skill acquisition that needs to happen. And the next time it happens, you're like, oh, last time I did this and didn't really work out.
Yeah.
I will try this time. And eventually you kind of figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And then talking with your coach, the coach can connect dots. I connected a couple dots with some members this afternoon, and they're like, oh, had you not connected? It was regarding sleep and cravings. And I'm like, so your sleep is better. How have you noticed your cravings changing? She's like, well, I haven't had any cravings this week. I'm like, oh. And there you go.
The power of having someone external being able to look at all the dots, because once you're in it, you're just, you're staring at one pixel of the whole picture, and it's tough to see how everything is connected together. Yeah.
And I think that's the role. A good coach's role is to zoom way out and kind of show like, okay, look, but we have some knowledge, right? So we're educated and we have knowledge of how things work and ton of experience through the whole coaching staff. But to zoom out and say, well, what about this and this and this? because we know how the sausage is made. Sorry to this
It's a vegan
vegan
sausage. It's okay.
so we can kind of reverse engineer it for them, and they're like, "Oh, got it. Okay."
Yeah, it's I had one of my clients that I'm still coaching. There was one week she was like, I went off track and blah 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 blah, and I need to add more cardio and I need to like
I had
cut
the
more
same.
food.
Yep.
And then I'm like, I look at the whole like the bigger picture of everything and where she's at. I was like, no, we don't need to change anything. Just but Maxim, you're like, you're not listening to me. Like I overate, my weight is up, and blah
Yep.
blah blah. And I was like, yeah, we don't need to do anything. It's like I'm not being insensitive. I'm just being smart about it. We just get back on track and the weight will come right off, right? You're
Yeah.
coming from a surplus back to a deficit. So a lot of time it's there's a reaction to having gone off track or haven't done the right thing that they thought they should have done. But as a coach, a lot of times it's just about staying calm. It's just been, yeah, cool. Like just go back to doing the plan. Like doing a crazy action right now will just start a really vicious cycle of potentially over exercising, under eating, and then you're back on the same boat you were before you started.
Yeah, I had the same conversation this afternoon. I went out to eat 4 times last week. I'm like, yep, okay. She's like, like looking for a reaction. I'm like, I'm not going to react. And I think it comes out of it's rooted in emotion, right? There's so much emotion wrapped up in that. And then when we have emotions that are hard to navigate, then the assumption is that you want to take action, right? To remedy that. And I'm like, you don't have to do anything. Just get back on track. Eat your oatmeal tomorrow. Get your smoothie in. Okay, that's the plan. Yeah, that's the plan. And then I think a part of them, a teeny little bit, they know that that's what they should do, but they just need somebody to say, go do it.
Yeah. Or some of them are looking for a reaction. I'll be honest with you. They're looking for you to say something and be like, no, it was not good. You shouldn't have done that. Because I guess there's like this stereotype of coaches, right?
Yeah.
Like yelling at you for being bad. And we're just like, yeah, cool. Hope you had a good time. Just eat your breakfast.
Did you enjoy?
Yeah. It's like you enjoyed yourself socially and you spend quality time with the people you love. Phenomenal. Great. Like let's learn from this and just get back on track the next meal.
Yeah. I hope that we are ushering in a new era of coaching in the health space, you know, the kind, sensitive, empathic, understanding coach that has good confidence and relies on science and ways that are tried and true.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, we're over 1,000 transformations now.
Yeah.
And as we continue, there's just more credibility. It's just, to me, already at like 200, it was undeniable.
Yeah.
When we got to 500 and 800, now 1,000, like, it's undeniable that this obviously works. It's like, that's how I think about, you ever been bungee jumping before?
No.
No? Okay. So when I went for the first time, a lot of people were nervous, and I was like, well, they've been in business for 20 years. Like, if they sucked at what they did, they wouldn't have lasted that long.
Yeah.
So I feel safe doing it because they've been around for so long. Yeah. So yeah, if they're like, yeah, we only had like 100 deaths in the past 5 years, I'd be like, yeah, I'm probably not going to jump with you guys. I'm just going to stay, I'm going to stay on the bridge. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
No, I think the industry is changing a lot. I think people are getting tired. But as you know, and I think people are noticing more, like, I have a few clients. I'm pretty much done coaching. This is my last year of coaching this year. So everyone's kind of working with you guys. So I'm spending more time on podcasts and YouTube. And so I'm kind of studying what other people in this industry are doing. And I kind of gave up on it. I'm like, I'm not going to look at what these guys are doing because they're just going after the quick, like, let's get as many people as possible. And then let's turn them around as fast as possible. And it's like, 6-pack in 6 weeks, lose 20 pounds in the next 15 days. It's like all of that crazy stuff. And I was just like, yeah, you know what? I don't want to jump on that train.
No.
If we grow slower, then so be it. But just there's a discomfort to saying that stuff.
Yeah. And there's like, we all have our own moral compass. I would not feel comfortable leading somebody down that path, knowing full well it's ineffective and it's borderline abusive.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I'm not interested in that at all.
Yeah. And that's why we added the reverse dieting too, right? Like, it was early on in the days of Fit Vegan, we did that. It was like, no, we need to tell people after. Because it's one thing to lose the weight, but it's another thing to like do the process to like increase the chances of keeping it off after.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy what's out there. I stopped looking at a lot of it. And Ivy looks
Me
at those
too.
magazines sometimes, and
I
it's just
know. I
like,
can't. It's so toxic and it's just unrealistic and it irritates me. And I'm using that it more than irritates me, but I don't want to have,
you're
I
being
don't want to
polite.
cuss. It pisses me off because part of me is like, I'm grateful for the support of this company that I get to work with because I'm allowed to coach how I want to and feel is best. And that there's a place for those people after those toxic programs to come to. And it's a soft place for them to land and learn and figure out what works best for them, because what works for one member won't work for another. And it's about
No.
working individually with each other, coach and member, to figure out what that is, what that sweet spot is. And again, it's not the same. We're not cookie cutters in terms of our programming. So for me, it's like, yes, I'm mad at these companies that promise the world and have no intention of delivering long term. But then there's an alternative. Come to us, and
Yeah.
we'll usher you into a much nicer way of being with your body and food.
Yeah. But to be like, I get it. They do it for money,
Oh
but
yeah,
I won't be, I don't lie. I share too much because if I lie about something, I feel anxious.
yeah.
Like I have a hard time sleeping. So I've just chosen to just say the truth, even if it's oversharing, because then now I don't have to worry
Keeping your lies
about
straight.
anything. Yeah, exactly. I don't have to remember any lies. I'm just going to say my thing.
Yeah,
And that's why when people meet us, they're like, you guys are exactly like you're online. Like,
I
yeah,
know.
100%. I'm not playing this game.
No.
I'm doing me. That's it. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
and you have been the same you 5 years ago, and I have been the same me. Like
Yeah, it's been super fun. Like honestly, like it's changed so much, right? When you think of like, what was a restaurant we would meet at in White
Browns,
Rock?
Browns,
Yeah, we
Brown Social House.
Brown Social House, which is not a vegan restaurant, but they
No.
have vegan options. But that's where Sarah and I would meet to have meetings when we
Yeah.
started Fit Vegan over five
Grab our
years ago.
laptops.
Yeah, felt so cool. I was like, oh yeah, we're running a business with our laptops. We're meeting at a restaurant. We have like in-person meeting. This is so cool. And now we're what, like 12, like
Yeah.
11 or 12 employees. And I have 2 interviews tomorrow because we need an assistant editor help
Yeah.
because we're putting up more content and a videographer. So the family is expanding.
It's so
Yeah.
encouraging.
Yeah, well, it says that people are ready to do it right. I think
Yeah.
that's what it says about the world, right? And the fact that we're able to serve more people. I want to bring it back to coaching. You and I, we can talk
I
for
know.
hours.
I know.
So, what do you feel like? I still do this because a lot of people, when they start the program, they're like, "Whoa, okay, like we're changing the training, we're changing nutrition." It's like it tends to be like a bigger shift in the actions that they're taking, like new things to learn.
Yeah.
Do you have any like tips or strategies for new members or potential new members that will be coming in on how to navigate this kind of change in lifestyle?
Oh, yeah. Small changes go a long way. It doesn't have to be mind blowing, change up your whole lifestyle. In fact, that's probably the opposite of what you want. Small things go a long way. So, I feel that there's two very important realms that I think are most impactful, and they may be fundamental and simple, but sleep and good quality food. If you don't have those two things, you're kind of in trouble.
Yeah.
It'll inform everything. Sleep will inform everything. Same with quality of food and having a good macro balance. So I would just start with slow. If you're not doing, good sleep hygiene and you're not prioritizing sleep, I would start there and make small progressions in that realm until you've mastered it, right? So start slow and work and build. And setting expectations is really important. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're trying to be better at that. We just had a meeting about that actually.
Yeah.
Right. So the people we've been working with has changed a lot. We started with 25 to 45, I think was kind of like our average before. And in the past, at least 3 years, for sure, at least 3 years, it shifted to, over time, it shifted to 50 to 86.
Yeah.
And now we can aim to see about like, our average client's about a 63-year-old woman.
Women, mostly.
So it's about like a 1 to 3 pound of body recomposition on average per month. With that age, again, some people over, some people are under. It depends on compliance and age and health and hormones and all that. But it is a bit slower than when we were coaching a 25 to 45-year-old. It's different. The body responds differently. But I think what's important for those people to know is that it's not impossible. It'll just take you a bit longer, right? So do you care more about it not happening in a short period of time or it happening over a longer period of time? Like, just it's a pretty obvious choice.
Yeah. And because we're dealing with the older adult who's kind of in the last third of their life, quality of life conversations happen. Like, what do you want to be doing? Does it, you want to lose weight, but really at the end of your time here, does it really matter how long it took? Or are you going to enjoy those hikes outside more? Are you able to spend time with your grandkids on the floor playing? Like, those are not, reliant on the scale, but more on your functional fitness and how you move in your body.
Yeah. And just traveling the world, trying new activities, doing things with your partner. Because a lot of people, as they get sicker and older, they can't travel. So there's a lot of things that they wish they could have done that they can't do. And I'm just first that come to mind is like Gary and Linda, just because we just had them in LA here. Like both 67, great shape, heading in the right direction, doing all the right things and being able to enjoy life. And I think that's the part that people miss. It's, when you're at the end of your life, again, that deathbed analogy is, it's going to be like, I enjoyed the quality time that I spent with the people that I love. I got more years out of my life where I was able to create these beautiful memories. Even though potentially you didn't have a six-pack or the flattest stomach, like you won't care whether you have a six-pack or a little thin layer of fat over it. You'll just be like, I was healthy, I was fit, or I didn't get injured because I had weak legs or weak muscles in my upper body. You were able to kind of make the most out of it, and priority changes, right? As you get older, and we're definitely seeing that with our members. It's less about, I want a six-pack and look good at the beach, right? It's definitely more like a 20, 30, early 40-year-old goal.
And a lot of people, especially women coming into the program, like one of my most important mandates is bone health. Right? Like, after the age of 35, women start declining and we need to be active. We need to maintain our lean tissue. We need to, put that stress on our bones. So some women come into the program having to play catch up. Whether or not they can is, not entirely guaranteed, but they can at least maintain and reduce their risk of fractures. And we know, I don't know if the stats have changed, but my last understanding is 1 of 4 women who fall and break a hip, it doesn't end well for them.
And the recovery is so much longer. And I'm just going to correct myself. I said sarcopenia. That's a decrease in lean muscle tissue. It's actually osteoporosis. I was like, I'm going to sound dumb. I better correct myself. But they gotta go hand in hand with injury. If you have more lean muscle tissue, you're stronger, you're less likely to fall. And then if you do fall, then you have stronger bones. You're less likely to break something.
That's right. So, the 30s, 40s year olds, their priority is slightly different and less
both
impactful.
those two things start in your 30s, right? Like osteoporosis and sarcopenia start as like early in your 30s.
It's shocking. At 35, you're still young and spry and beautiful and plump. And
I'm not there yet, and my knees hurt from all the training. So we'll
35 has been in my rear for 10 years.
I will see how I'll see how the knees feel at 35.
Things change as you age, and I think I had a conversation today about this, about how we we mature not only in our physical body, but in our mental health in terms of our priorities do change. And it shifts from a shallow, I want to look pretty, to I want to show up for myself and be present and interact with life and family and friends. And I need a vehicle in which I can do that in a way that is joyful.
Yeah, I feel like it reverses as you're younger. It goes like more superficial aesthetic,
Sure.
which again, nothing wrong. I like to look
Nope.
great as well.
Yeah.
But then as a side effect of it, you show up differently, you feel better. But when you get older, you kind of reverse it. You're like, no, I want to feel good. And then the side effects of it is,
You look good.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not as much of a priority, but it still happens by default. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like any other like big things that you see people, struggling with.
I think some of the things I really enjoy doing with members is challenging their old belief system and rules that they have that are no longer serving them.
Yeah. I got
And
a
just,
tattoo about that. That's a good one.
right? Like that might have served you. Like perfectionism is another very abundant perspective that we have in our group. So like we talked a little bit about coming into the program and wanting to be perfect, but perfectionism is something that it's a unicorn. It doesn't exist. Perfectionism is elusive.
Yeah, it's a fine line between doing the best that you can and perfectionism. And I think people confuse both of them.
They blur them for sure.
Yeah.
And then breaking that and just having conversations around belief systems that like they believe and they follow so like unthoughtfully. So, teaching people to critically think is also really important to me. It's like, you're going to leave the program at some point. I love every single member, but I do like to see them graduate and then go off and be successful and learn to critically think for themselves. So try to download as much as I can to them and ask the questions so that they can figure it out for themselves while still in the program, obviously towards the end, but they can figure out once they've left the program. So they're not reliant on somebody else to figure their stuff out for them.
Yeah, and I think that's a big important part of how we've been doing things is trying to teach people to be self-reliant after, because you don't want to have a coach for the rest of your life. Again, I've had coaches for the past 10 years, unless you have different goals, right? You shouldn't necessarily have a trainer for the rest of your life if you're always training for the same thing. Like eventually you kind of know what you're supposed to do. And I think people mistaken the fact that there's so much to learn, which there isn't to a certain extent. Like you just need to know how to coach you. You don't need to know what we know to coach thousands of different variations of people. That's what, when you decide to do this for a living, then you have to acquire that extra skill set. You just need to know how to like control your own stuff, your own emotions, your own decisions for nutrition and for training. So it's not as much as trying to learn how to coach like 1,000 different people, basically.
Yeah, and you have like a framework for coaches. We have things that we look out for and that are red flags. Just in conversation, people say things, you're like, "Oh, that's a red flag." Obviously, you don't show it on your face, but you're like, you make a little note in your head or on paper.
Yeah, we've got to work on that.
Yeah, we're going to work on that. We're going to dig a little deeper there. And some people come into the program and they have, it's just a matter of tweaking and just very simple things. And then other people come in with a lot of things that they need to examine and to work through. And so, meeting people where they're at and what they need to learn and just giving a perspective that's a little bit different and outside.
Yeah. It makes me laugh because you see people's faces once they start like a few weeks into the program. They're like, well, they kind of felt like it was going to be like a workout and nutrition program. And they're like, well, this is like an internal transformation program. I was like, yeah, like that's been the issue the whole time. It's not been the squats have been around for a long time. You could have done them before you came in here, right? It's an internal transformation. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah. And it's also a reconciling of your past and then trusting yourself. Because I think a lot of people come into the program with a ton of knowledge. I'm like, you know more about nutrition than I do, and I've educated in it.
Yeah.
But it's sorting out and critically thinking, okay, well, I know that this works for me, and having the kind of the sounding board in the coach to try things out and tweak things, and and discarding what doesn't work.
Yeah. No, I like what you said, because we've coached a lot of doctors, we've coached nutrition scientists, we've coached a lot of people in the health space.
Yeah.
Head knowledge and like I call it body knowledge or applied
Yeah.
knowledge are
Yeah.
two very different things. You can know a lot of stuff, but never have implemented it. And there's lessons you learn from implementing knowledge that you'll never learn through reading or watching or listening to a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, you can read about how to deal with a stressful day and make the right decision for your nutrition, but actually going through it and trying to make the right decision, very different feeling. It will not go down the way that you think it will go down.
Yeah, and it's going to take more than one try.
Absolutely. It is. There's a learning curve to acquire those skills. And I think, people miss that. They think like, I read about it. It's all going to be good. I've listened to Maxim talk about it. I'm like, it's only brings you so far. You actually have to implement it.
Yeah, and make those mistakes and learn how to be with yourself with those mistakes.
Yeah, I think that's a big part people struggle with. They feel like they have to trying to fix it or recover from it, but a lot of the time it's counterproductive, right? Because they're going to cut more food or do more exercise. So it's like, no, actually the best plan of action is for you to like not trying to recover and do anything. It's just continue to do what you were doing prior to that moment. That's tough. That's real tough for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think the fact that I think most of us coaches are really transparent in our unperfectness. If that's a word.
We've all been through the shit. Like we've been through it.
Yeah, and I messed up yesterday, and I was on a call with somebody who said I overate. I'm like, you know what? I did too yesterday. I didn't, and I'm like, I blah blah blah. Didn't make sure my meals were made, and I didn't meal prep, and I didn't. And she's like, oh, you do that too? I'm like, occasionally, yeah, I screw up. I'm human. It happens. I said,
Yeah.
What did I do today? I got up and I got back up and I did my oatmeal and my shake, and she's like, oh, okay. So being transparent and human as coaches is really important, and sharing that, because how many times do we see coaches on social media or in life and they come off as perfect, and it's like, it's not relatable, and it's just not true. And darn well that they're not doing what they're saying they're doing, and they make mistakes, and they pretend that they're not, and it's really irritating. And I'm as open as I can be with everybody, and I call myself out on my own mistakes and missteps, and I think that's important.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what the bill 90% whole food plant based. Ivy and I went on a date lunch. We had vegan tacos, and there was this like sprinkle marshmallow cookie, and I was like, I'm having one of those, and it was super good.
Yeah.
Again, made it fit within my calories, so I have no guilt to it. The cookie's not going to destroy me compared to all the other healthy food I'm eating. Just like one salad won't make you healthy if the rest of it is crap food. But that was a good cookie. It was pretty darn good. Yeah. And then I came home and I took a nap, and now we're here. Been a good day so far.
That's a solid day.
Yeah. And it's like I train 12 hours. I train 20 hours a week right now for performance goals. And like, I can't not monitor my calories, because you've trained for like an endurance event, like very easy to overeat and put on some weight, even though you're training a lot. I think it's actually harder to monitor your nutrition when you're training for performance, because you're 100%. So much hungrier.
Yeah.
And you feel the weakness if you don't eat enough, right? Like you'll bike or run, you'll be like, just that the power is not fully there. I need more food.
Yeah.
So you do need to eat that food, but you still have to monitor it to a certain extent. But heck yeah, I had a good cookie and it was awesome.
Yeah, I know. And then I think if we model that, same with like how we model how we talk to our members is important, because we're basically showing them this is how you want to speak to yourself. You want to be loving and kind and supportive and understanding. I don't think I've ever berated somebody and wagged my finger at them and say, you are an idiot. Like, that'll never happen.
Nah, I've never done that.
No. But people are doing that in their head. So if you keep showing them that that's not appropriate, and we don't talk to each other that way, so why would you talk to yourself like that? And then we also model like having cookies every once in a while, or not meal prepping and being prepared and hoping for the best. Like, yeah, that didn't work. Learn from my mistakes.
Yeah, or just living on, like, I've done that. You're at an airport, and I was like, it's like a long flight. I don't want to bring food, and so I lived on protein bars and fruits from the airport and smoothies for a whole day of travel, and it's
not great.
Yeah, but again, stay within the calories and then stayed on track. Was it the healthiest they know, but was it better than just being like, screw it, I'm just gonna eat whatever I want at the airport?
Yeah,
that would have been way worse. It's was it Dr. Neil Barnard talked about that last year at the PCRM conference? He's like, talked about blueberries versus chocolate chips or vegan chocolate chips or something like that. Always like, he's like, chocolate chips, is it bad or good? He's like, compared to what? Compared to, eating a steak, like vegan chocolate chips would be way better than eating a steak, right? And then would eating blueberries be better than eating vegan chocolate chip? Like, yeah, absolutely. But it's like, it's less worse than the other thing. So it's about, not beating yourself up, I think we spend a lot of time with members on that, but it's quite a bit of a journey because you need to go through different challenges. Because if you're feeling good, you don't have an opportunity to learn to not beat yourself up. Like, you actually have to go through the mud a little bit to kind of have the opportunity to learn to not beat yourself up when those things do come up and do happen.
Yeah. Because it's done. It's in the past. So beating yourself up it's nonsense. It's just like, what are you going to gain from it?
Yeah. Do you remember the clip I showed to the members of Will Ferrell in Talladega Night when he stabs himself in the leg? Yeah, it's like continuing to stab yourself in the leg when you've already stabbed yourself once. Like, I stabbed myself once, might as well do it 2 more times.
Yes.
It makes no sense.
No sense.
Yeah. So that's perfect, Sarah. So let's end on this here. I'm gonna go do my second workout of the day today. I'm gonna use up that cookie, even though it doesn't work like that. When people say that, it's like, I'm gonna go use up the food that I just ate. Like, you're not gonna burn off the cookie specifically. What is a message that you'd like to pass off to the members that are currently listening to this episode, or new members that will potentially, want to work with you?
Okay, the current members, I just want to say that I'm so proud of every single one of them, no matter where they are in their journey. Even the smallest improvement, step forward, lesson learned is, part of your overall journey, and it's worthy. And that I'm super proud of everybody for showing up for themselves and doing their best. And then new members, what do I have to say? You are worth investing in yourself and your health, and if you're gonna spend the money either way, either in health or in pharmaceutical drugs to help deal with chronic diseases. And it's time to stop chasing the quick fix. It's time to do something more sustainable and realistic.
Yeah, it's a big pivot for a lot of people.
I know.
Quick fix is so appealing.
Oh, it's so tempting.
So desirable.
I know.
And it kind of feels good pursuing it too, because there's the hope of it happening, and then you just get deceived every single time.
Yeah.
Hey, we're human. I do that. I catch myself doing that too sometimes.
Yeah. So. It just takes discipline of your inner world to stop and critically think like, it doesn't work. So let's just, like, I think you said in a meeting or something, I can't remember when you said, but you basically were talking about Olympians.
Yeah.
And their capacity to do the boring work for a long period of time. And, when you come into the program, it's kind of like you're Olympian. You're doing the long, boring, non-sexy work. But it's sustainable and it's proven to be the path.
There's no other way around it.
That's right.
Like there's no other around it. If you
No.
just do the exciting stuff, it's kind of like the person that's a serial dater. They're just excited for like the beginning phase of the relationship, and then they leave a partner and they can't have a lasting relationship.
Yeah.
For anyone that has had any lasting relationship, there's moments where it's not super exciting, but you just got to show up and do your best, and it becomes exciting again. You kind of go through those flows.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with transformation. It's just so not sexy and exciting that people are like, I'm going to go do this thing now because it's new and they have to, it's a change of scenery.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. It's another dopamine hit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I got to do the boring, unsexy work. Like I do not want to go do this workout today. It is my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th workout this week. And we're Thursday afternoon.
Yes.
And I have this one. I have 1 tonight, 3 tomorrow, 2 on Saturday left.
Yeah.
For the week. So
that's a lot. But it's for the greater good of your goal. And it's the non-sexy, and there's value in doing things you don't want to do to achieve a goal.
I know other people are not doing it.
That's right.
Or a very small amount of people are doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, I appreciate you for taking the time recording a podcast with me after a full day of coaching.
That's okay. It's just a conversation.
Well, we always love to talk. It's great. It's great to catch up. I know we don't talk as much since the company has grown a lot. So this is kind of an opportunity for me to connect with you and with all the coaches. And, for everyone listening, if you would love to work with Coach Sarah, it's very simple to do. There's a link down below in the description, whether on YouTube or listening to the audio, where you can book your free body recomposition consultation call. You'll speak with one of our onboarding coaches that will lay out, a game plan for you. Again, we'll manage your expectation as to what needs to happen, which again will be the truth of the unsexy, boring work, and will be the truth of what needs to happen for your transformation. We're not gonna lie to you. We'll just tell you what needs to happen. And if you don't want to do it, you want to continue pursuing the sexy stuff, go for it. You'll come back to us when you're burnt out from doing that. So might as well do it now. So book your call, again, absolutely free. And we'd love to support you on your journey. And then once you're on the call, you can just request Coach Sarah, and then you'll get to work with her. And so thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you potentially in the program. And Sarah, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much.